Chen's hand hit the hospital door, and what he saw in that split second would destroy everything he thought he knew about love. Jennifer, his fiancée, the woman he was supposed to marry in 8 weeks, stood over his mother's hospital bed with both hands pressing a pillow down hard over Linda's face. His mother's frail fingers clawed desperately at Jennifer's wrists, her body convulsing, fighting for air that wouldn't come. And Jennifer's face, God, her face, was twisted into something he'd never seen before. Pure determination, cold calculation, the face of someone who'd already decided his mother had to die. The flowers Marcus brought crashed to the floor. What he was about to discover in the next 25 minutes would prove that every single moment of their 9-month relationship had been a lie. And if you've ever trusted the wrong person, if you've ever ignored that voice in your head telling you something's wrong, you need to hear what happens next because it might just save your life. But first, hit that subscribe button right now and smash that like, because what I'm about to tell you about Jennifer's secret life, about the other man she tried this with, about what the police found hidden in her closet, you're not going to believe it. And before this story is over, you're going to learn exactly how to spot a predator before they destroy you. Now let me take you back to the moment that changed everything. What are you doing? Marcus's voice exploded through the room like a gunshot. Jennifer's head snapped toward him. The pillow fell. Linda's chest heaved violently as she gasped for air, making raw, desperate sounds that would haunt Marcus forever. For one impossible second, Marcus couldn't move. This was Jennifer, the woman who laughed at his jokes, who kissed him goodnight, who was supposed to walk down the aisle toward him. But the woman staring back at him now, eyes wide, hands shaking, that wasn't Jennifer at all. His body moved before his mind caught up. 2 strides. He shoved Jennifer backward, placing himself between her and his mother like a human shield. Mom, look at me. Breathe. Just breathe. Linda's eyes fluttered open, confused, terrified. Her lips trembled, but no words came. Just those broken, gasping sounds. The heart monitor screamed. Behind him, Jennifer stood frozen against the wall. And for just a moment, she looked almost surprised, like she hadn't expected him to walk through that door, like she'd thought she had more time. But here's what Marcus didn't know yet, what he was about to discover. Jennifer had calculated the time. She knew his meeting schedule down to the minute. She'd planned this perfectly. She just didn't count on one thing. 2 nurses burst through the door, eyes sweeping the scene. The screaming monitor, Linda gasping, Marcus hovering over her. Jennifer backed into the corner. What happened here? Marcus turned slowly, and for the first time since the pillow fell, he really looked at Jennifer. Her designer blouse wrinkled, her perfect blonde hair disheveled. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. They weren't filled with horror at what she'd done. They were filled with fear for herself. She tried to kill her, Marcus said, voice deadly calm. I walked in and she was holding a pillow over my mother's face. The second nurse spoke into her radio. Security. Jennifer's mouth opened. No, that's not... Marcus, you don't understand. I saw you. She was choking. I was trying to help. You were suffocating her. I saw you, Jennifer. Jennifer's face crumpled. Her hands came up like she wanted to reach for him. Marcus, please. She was going to ruin everything. She stopped. The room went silent. Even the heart monitor seemed to quiet. Marcus stared at her. What did you just say? Jennifer's eyes darted to the nurses, to the door, back to Marcus. What did you just say? She shook her head, pressing her lips together. But the words had already escaped. She was going to ruin everything. And what Marcus didn't know, what he was about to learn from the detectives, was that this wasn't the first time Jennifer had said those exact words. She'd said them before, to another man, in another city, about another mother who got in her way. 2 security guards appeared in the doorway. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. Jennifer's eyes locked on Marcus, wide and desperate. Marcus, don't do this. We can talk. Just you and me. Please. He didn't answer. Ma'am, I love you. Jennifer's voice broke. I did this because I love you. Don't you see that? Marcus turned away. He sat down beside his mother's bed and took Linda's hand. He didn't watch as they led Jennifer out. Didn't flinch when her voice rose in the corridor, pleading, sobbing. He just held his mother's hand and tried to breathe. A doctor rushed in, checking monitors, examining Linda's throat. Marcus stood but stayed close. "Mrs. Chen, can you hear me?" Linda nodded weakly. "Can you tell me what happened?" Linda's mouth opened. Her voice came out thin, scraping. She was... "Don't," Marcus said, squeezing her hand. "Don't push yourself. Just rest." The doctor's eyes shifted to Marcus. She didn't need to ask. The nurses had told her everything. Down the hall, Jennifer's voice carried, "You're making a mistake. He doesn't understand. She's been poisoning him against me for months." Marcus closed his eyes. The doctor finished her examination. "She's going to be okay physically, but she needs to stay another night. We'll monitor her closely." Marcus nodded, unable to speak. "Mr. Chen?" the doctor said quietly, glancing toward where Jennifer's voice had finally faded. "The police are going to want to speak with you, and..." She hesitated. "There's a detective here who says he needs to talk to you immediately. He says it's about Miss Foster's history." Marcus's head snapped up. "History?" "He said you need to hear this before she's processed." The room suddenly felt colder. "What history?" The doctor's expression was carefully neutral. "He'll explain." "But Mr. Chen," she paused, "you should sit down for this. Stay with me." Because what the detective was about to tell Marcus would turn this from attempted murder into something far more sinister. Jennifer Foster wasn't who she said she was, and Marcus's mother wasn't her first target. The detective who walked in 10 minutes later wasn't one of the uniformed officers who'd taken Jennifer away. This was someone different, older, with the kind of eyes that had seen things that kept him up at night. Detective Sarah Morrison. Homicide. Marcus's stomach dropped. "Homicide? My mother's alive." "I know," Morrison said, her voice measured. "But I need you to listen to me very carefully, Mr. Chen. We ran Miss Foster's fingerprints through our system when she was brought in. Standard procedure for violent crimes." She pulled out her phone and showed him a photo. "Do you recognize this man?" Marcus stared at the image. A man, maybe 60, silver hair, kind eyes. "No. Should I?" His name was Robert Caldwell, San Francisco tech executive. Net worth approximately $800 million. He died 18 months ago. "I don't understand." His mother was in a nursing home, end-stage Alzheimer's. One day, a nurse found her unresponsive. Suffocation was suspected, but there wasn't enough evidence. The family was too grief-stricken to push for an investigation. Morrison paused. Robert Caldwell had been engaged at the time to a woman who called herself Jessica Bennett. Blonde, late 30s, event planner. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. After his mother died, Robert spiraled. Depression, guilt. 6 months later, he drove his car off a cliff. Ruled a suicide. Morrison's jaw tightened. Jessica Bennett disappeared. Collected a $2 million life insurance policy Robert had put her on just weeks before his death. Then vanished. "You think Jessica Bennett and Jennifer Foster are the same person, Mr. Chen? Different name, different background, same face, same pattern, same method." Marcus couldn't breathe. "We got a warrant for her apartment 30 minutes ago. And what we found..." Morrison pulled out her phone again. "You need to see this." The image showed a journal. Black leather. Worn edges. Morrison swiped to the next photo. Marcus's name was written across the top of the page. Over and over. Hundreds of times. Like someone practicing a signature. Below it, target acquired. Same as RC. Mother is the obstacle. Timeline. 6 to 9 months. RC, Morrison said quietly. Robert Caldwell. Marcus thought he might be sick. There's more. Morrison swiped again. Another page. A detailed timeline. Month 1. Establish trust. Be independent. Split checks. Don't appear needy. Month 3. Meet the mother. Be perfect. Warm but not overeager. Month 5. Engagement. Push for fall wedding. Suggest prenup to appear genuine. Month 7 to 8. Mother begins interference. Begin preparation. Month 9. Execute. Execute. Marcus stared at the word until it blurred. She'd been planning this since the day you met, Morrison said. The charity auction wasn't a coincidence. She researched you for 8 months before that. Learned your schedule, your habits, your philanthropic interests. She knew you'd be there. Why? Marcus's voice barely worked. Why me? Morrison's expression softened slightly. You fit a profile, Mr. Chen. Wealthy, single, close relationship with your mother. She targets men whose mothers are their closest advisors. Because once the mother is gone, she trailed off. There's no one left to warn them, Marcus finished. Exactly. But here's what Morrison hadn't told him yet. What she was about to reveal. What was written on the very last page of that journal. The page that would make Marcus realize just how close he'd come to becoming Robert Caldwell. There's something else in the journal, Morrison said, her voice dropping. The last entry. It was dated yesterday. She swiped to the final photo. Marcus read the words and felt his entire world tilt. L. Becoming aggressive with interference. Told MC to postpone wedding. Cannot allow delay. Financial situation critical. Eviction notice posted. Collections calling daily. If MC delays, we'll lose everything. L. Must be removed by Friday at latest. Method. Suffocation during afternoon visit. MC always returns after 6 p.m. Window, 2 to 5 p.m. Pillow method, quiet, can be explained as medical emergency. Nurse rotation changes at 3 p.m. 30-minute gap in monitoring. She'd planned it down to the minute, Morrison said. She knew the nurse rotation. She knew your schedule. She knew exactly when she'd have the window. Marcus's hands were shaking. Friday. That was today. That was today, Morrison confirmed. Mr. Chen, what time did you arrive at the hospital? Around 2:45. I finished my meeting early and he stopped. I wasn't supposed to be there until after 6. You weren't supposed to be there at all. The weight of that settled over him like concrete. If you'd followed your normal schedule, Morrison continued, you would have arrived to find your mother dead. Jennifer would have been distraught, crying, claiming she'd stepped out for coffee and came back to find Linda unresponsive. There would have been an investigation, but with your mother's pneumonia, with her age, with the stress of hospitalization. Morrison shook her head. It would have likely been ruled natural causes, especially with Jennifer playing the devastated future daughter-in-law. Marcus felt like he was going to vomit. And then? He asked, though he already knew. Then she would have comforted you through your grief. Been your rock. Pushed for the wedding, maybe suggested a small ceremony, something quick, to give you both something positive to focus on. And within 6 months, you'd be married. She'd have access to everything. And once that happened, Morrison didn't finish. She didn't have to. Robert Caldwell drove off a cliff 6 months after his mother died, Marcus said slowly. He did. But it wasn't suicide. Morrison's silence was answer enough. We're investigating that death now, she finally said. But Mr. Chen, there's something else you need to know. Something we found in her apartment that changes everything. She pulled out another photo. This one showed a small black box. Inside it, a collection of driver's licenses. 5 of them, 5 different names, 5 different women, but all of them had Jennifer's face. Jessica Bennett was just one identity, Morrison said. We're still tracking down the others, but preliminary research suggests she's been doing this for at least 7 years. Different cities, different names, always the same type of target. Wealthy single men with close relationships to their mothers. Marcus couldn't speak. We found bank records showing deposits of $1.2 million from Robert Caldwell's estate. But there are other transfers too, smaller ones, from other accounts, other men. Morrison leaned forward. Mr. Chen, we believe your mother may have been her 4th or 5th attempt. and you were going to be her second successful kill. The room spun. How many? Marcus finally asked. How many men? We don't know yet, but we're working on it. Morrison paused. There's one more thing. Something we found that I think you need to hear. She had voice recordings on her phone. Conversations she'd secretly recorded, including one from 3 days ago. Morrison hit play. Linda's voice filled the room, weak but clear. I've been thinking, Jennifer, maybe you and Marcus should postpone the wedding, just until I'm well enough to really be present for it. Then Jennifer's voice, sweet as honey. Oh, of course, whatever you think is best. Linda, I just want to make sure you're both certain. Marriage is everything, and sometimes when things move quickly, it's easy to miss things. Jennifer, what kinds of things? Linda, I've noticed how much pressure you both seem to be under. Marcus works so much, and you're planning a wedding. I just worry. Have you two really had time to talk about the hard things? Money, family, what you both want. There was a long pause. Then Jennifer's voice, but different now. Colder. You don't think I'm right for him? Linda, that's not what I said. Jennifer, but it's what you mean. The recording ended. Morrison looked at Marcus. She recorded that conversation, and 3 hours later, she wrote in her journal, L. made her position clear. She will never accept me. She will convince MC to leave. I have no choice. Friday. It ends Friday. Marcus pressed his palms against his eyes. Your mother tried to save you, Morrison said softly, and Jennifer decided she had to die for it. But what Marcus was about to hear next, what Jennifer said during her interrogation, would reveal just how twisted this woman really was, and why she believed, even after being caught, that she'd done nothing wrong. Marcus sat in the hallway outside his mother's room, Morrison's words echoing in his head. Your mother tried to save you. He thought back over the past 9 months, all the small moments he'd dismissed, the way Linda's smile never quite reached her eyes when Jennifer visited. The careful questions. Are you sure you're not rushing? What's the hurry? Have you really talked about everything? The way she'd pause before saying Jennifer's name, like the word itself required effort. She'd known. Not the specifics, not the extent, but she'd known something was wrong, and he'd ignored her. Worse, he'd been annoyed with her. Marcus stood and walked back into Linda's room. She was awake now, breathing steadier, but her eyes tracked him with that same worried expression she'd worn for months. Mom, he said, sitting beside her bed. Marcus, you tried to warn me. Linda's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know. I just felt something. What did you feel? She was quiet for a long moment. That she was performing. Like every word, every gesture, every smile was calculated. I've seen genuine love, sweetheart. I've watched you fall for people before. This wasn't that. This was audition. Marcus took her hand. Why didn't you push harder? I tried, Linda whispered. But you were so happy, or you seemed happy, and I thought, maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was being the overprotective mother who couldn't let go. A tear slipped down her cheek. And then 3 days ago, when she visited, I tried again. I suggested postponing the wedding. And the way she looked at me, Linda's voice cracked. It was only for a second, but I saw it. This cold, calculating look. Like she was deciding something. She was, Marcus said quietly. She was deciding you had to die. Linda closed her eyes. I knew. When she left that day, I knew I was in danger. But I didn't know how to tell you without sounding crazy. You're not crazy. I called your office yesterday, Linda continued. Did you know that? I called 3 times. I told your assistant I needed to talk to you urgently, that it was about Jennifer. Marcus's stomach dropped. I never got the messages. I know. Your assistant said you were in back-to-back meetings, that she'd have you call me when you were free. Linda's voice grew softer. But I think part of me knew you wouldn't call back in time. That's why when she showed up today, when she pulled that chair close to my bed, when she smiled that smile, I wasn't surprised. What did she say? Before? Linda took a shaky breath. She said, "I'm sorry it has to be this way, but you left me no choice. You were never going to accept me, and Marcus listens to you too much. Once you're gone, he'll need me. He'll cling to me, and then everything will be perfect." Marcus felt bile rise in his throat. "Then she picked up the pillow," Linda whispered, "and I tried to fight. I tried to scream, but I'm so weak from the pneumonia, and she's so much stronger. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. Killed by my son's fiancée because I tried to protect him. But I came back," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "You came back," Linda echoed. "Why did you come back early?" "I don't know. I was sitting in that meeting and something just felt wrong. Like this voice in my head screaming at me to leave, to check on you. I actually stood up in the middle of a presentation and walked out. My team thought I was having a medical emergency." Linda smiled weakly. "Maybe you were. Maybe God was giving you one." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Linda said something that would stay with Marcus forever. "She was never going to let me live, sweetheart. Even if you'd married her. Even if I'd accepted her. Because I knew. Deep down, I knew she was wrong for you. And she could see that. People like that, they can't risk anyone who sees through them." "People like that," Marcus repeated. "Morrison said she's done this before. Multiple times. Different names. Different cities." Linda's hand tightened on his. "How many?" "They don't know yet. But at least one other man is dead." "Oh God." "His name was Robert Caldwell. He drove off a cliff after his mother died. Jennifer or Jessica, that's what she called herself then. She got $2 million from his life insurance." Linda's eyes widened. "She would have done the same to you. It wasn't a question." "Morrison thinks so." "Marcus?" Linda's voice grew urgent. "You have to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll never ignore your instincts again. That voice that brought you back here today, that's the same voice that's been trying to warn you for months. You just weren't listening. I promise. And promise me," Linda continued, "that you'll never let someone make you doubt the people who truly love you, because that's what she did. She made you doubt me. She made you think I was being overprotective or controlling. She isolated you from the one person who would have protected you." Marcus pressed his forehead against their joined hands. "I'm so sorry, Mom." "Don't be sorry. Just learn from it." But what Marcus didn't know, what he was about to discover when Morrison came back, was that Jennifer wasn't done talking. She'd requested to make a statement, and what she said during her interrogation would reveal the true depth of her delusion, and why she still believed, even after being caught with her hands literally on the pillow, that she was the victim in all of this. Morrison returned an hour later. "She wants to talk," the detective said. "She's waived her right to an attorney. Says she wants to explain herself to you." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I don't want to hear anything she has to say. I understand. But Mr. Chen, sometimes hearing it helps. It helps you understand that nothing you did caused this. That this was always going to happen because of who she is, not who you are." Marcus looked at Linda. She nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "But I want it recorded. Already being recorded." Morrison led him to a small observation room. Through the two-way mirror, he could see Jennifer sitting at a metal table, hands cuffed in front of her. Mascara streaked down her face. She looked small, broken, nothing like the monster Morrison had described. That's how she gets them, Marcus thought. A younger detective sat across from her. Male, probably mid-30s. "Miss Foster," he began. "You've waived your right to an attorney. Are you sure you want to proceed?" Jennifer nodded. When she spoke, her voice was hoarse. "I want Marcus to understand." "Understand what?" "Why I did it. Why I had to. Had to attempt to murder his mother?" "It wasn't murder," Jennifer said, and her voice was suddenly stronger, almost indignant. "It was self-preservation." The detective's eyebrows rose. "Self-preservation?" "Yes." Jennifer leaned forward. "You don't understand. None of you understand what it's like. To be alone. To have nothing. To watch everyone else live these perfect lives while you're drowning in debt, in rejection, in invisibility. So you decided to kill someone? I decided to survive, Jennifer snapped. Linda was going to ruin everything. She was going to convince Marcus to leave me. And then what? Then I'm back to nothing. Back to being nobody. Back to living in a studio apartment with creditors calling every hour. You could have gotten a job, filed for bankruptcy, asked for help. Jennifer laughed. It was a bitter, hollow sound. A job? I had 3 degrees and couldn't get hired anywhere. Do you know what it's like to be passed over for jobs by people half as qualified? To watch younger women with less experience get everything handed to them. So instead you decided to marry wealthy men and kill their mothers? I decided to be smart, Jennifer said, her voice rising. I'm 42 years old. I'm aging out of relevance. In 5 years, I'll be invisible. Men like Marcus don't look at women like me unless we make them look. Unless we become exactly what they need. And what did Marcus need? Someone who wasn't desperate. Someone independent. Someone who made him feel chosen, not needed. Jennifer's eyes grew distant. I studied him for 8 months before we met. I learned everything. His ex-girlfriends, what went wrong. His relationship with his mother, what he valued. His business, what stressed him. And then I became the solution to all of it. That's not love, the detective said. Love is a fairy tale, Jennifer shot back. Love is what poor people tell themselves to feel better about having nothing. Real life is strategy. Real life is survival. And I was surviving. Marcus felt sick. What about Robert Caldwell? The detective asked. Jennifer's face shifted. For just a moment, something like regret flickered across it. Robert was different. Different how? I actually liked him. Her voice softened. He was kind, gentle. He would have taken care of me. But his mother... Jennifer's jaw tightened. His mother was a vindictive old woman who thought I was after his money. She told him I was trash, that I was using him. And Robert, he was so weak. He actually started listening to her. So you killed her. I removed an obstacle. And then Robert drove off a cliff. Jennifer's eyes went cold. Robert made his own choices. Did he? Or did you make it impossible for him to live with what he knew? Silence. We found texts on his phone, the detective continued. From you, after his mother died. Texts like, I can't believe she's gone. You must feel so guilty. And, if only you'd listened to her sooner, maybe she'd still be alive. And, I know you blame yourself, but you can't let it consume you. Jennifer said nothing. You gaslit him into suicide, the detective said flatly. I was trying to help him. You were trying to make sure he couldn't expose you. Because once he was gone, there was no one left who knew what you'd done. Jennifer's hands clenched into fists. How many others? The detective asked. How many men? How many mothers? I want to make a deal. No deals. Then I'm done talking. Miss Foster. I said I'm done. Jennifer looked directly at the mirror, like she knew Marcus was standing there. I just want Marcus to know that I did love him. In my way. And everything I did because I saw a future with him. A real future. And his mother was going to take that away from me. She smiled then. Small. Sad. So yes, I tried to kill her. And if you want to know the truth, I do it again. Because people like me, we don't get second chances. We get one shot. And I was not going to let some self-righteous old woman ruin mine. The detective stared at her for a long moment. Then he stood. Jennifer Foster, you're being charged with attempted first-degree murder, conspiracy, and we're opening investigations into 3 other suspicious deaths. You're looking at life in prison. Jennifer's smile didn't falter. Then I guess I'll have plenty of time to write my memoir. Marcus turned away from the mirror. He'd heard enough. But what he didn't know, what Morrison was about to show him, was that Jennifer had one more secret. Something she'd hidden in her apartment that would prove just how calculated every moment of their relationship had been. And when Marcus saw it, he'd realize he'd never known her at all. Marcus was back in Linda's room when Morrison knocked on the door again. Mr. Chen, I need you to come with me. There's something at Miss Foster's apartment you need to see in person. Marcus looked at Linda. Go, she said softly. I'll be here when you get back. 20 minutes later, Marcus stood in the doorway of Jennifer's apartment. It was exactly as he remembered. Modest but tasteful. Cream-colored walls. Minimalist furniture. The scent of lavender from the candles she always kept burning. Except now, crime scene tape crisscrossed the living room. We found the journal in her nightstand, Morrison said, leading him through the apartment. The fake IDs in a lockbox under her bed. But this... She stopped in front of the bedroom closet. This is what I wanted you to see. She opened the door. The closet looked normal at first. Clothes hanging neatly, shoes organized on racks. Then Morrison pushed aside a hanging section to reveal the back wall. Marcus's breath caught. The entire wall was covered in photographs. Of him. Marcus leaving his office building. Marcus at a coffee shop. Marcus at the gym. Marcus having dinner with business partners. Hundreds of photos. These were taken over the course of 8 months, Morrison said. Before you ever met her. Marcus stepped closer, his hands shaking. There were notes written on some of the photos. Goes to Starbucks every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 a.m. Always orders black coffee. Gym routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday 6 a.m. Uses the treadmill for exactly 30 minutes. Then waits. Favorite restaurant? Giovanni's. Goes every other Sunday night. Sits at the bar if alone. Clothes with mother. Visits her every weekend. Brings flowers. Philanthropic interests. Children's hospitals. Education programs. Cancer research. Marcus felt like he was looking at a case file. Like he was the subject of an investigation. She knew everything about you, Morrison said quietly. Your routine. Your habits. Your values. And she engineered every chance encounter to seem organic. Marcus remembered the charity auction. How Jennifer had been standing by the bar. How she'd laughed at something someone said. How he'd walked over, thinking he was making the first move. The charity auction, he said slowly. She knew I'd be there. She was on the planning committee, Morrison said. She specifically requested to work the auction because she knew you'd donated to that organization for 3 years running. She knew you'd attend. Marcus's legs felt weak. Morrison continued, and look at this. She pointed to a timeline written on a whiteboard that had been hidden behind hanging coats. Week 1, first contact at auction. Be charming but not aggressive. Let him pursue. Week 2, first date. Split the check. Establish independence. Week 3 to 4, build connection. Ask about his work. Show genuine interest. Avoid mentioning money. Month 2, introduce physical intimacy. Move slowly. Make him feel valued. Month 3, meet the mother. Be perfect. This is critical. Month 4 to 5, deepen emotional connection. Share vulnerability. Create intimacy. Month 6, engagement. Time is critical. Financial situation deteriorating. Month 7 to 8, mother becomes problem. Monitor closely. Prepare contingencies. Month 9, execute plan. Every moment, every J continues to laugh. Every intimate conversation, every touch, scripted. There's more, Morrison said, almost apologetically. She led him to a desk in the corner, opened a drawer. Inside were practice journals, pages and pages of handwriting. Marcus picked one up. Dear Marcus, I've been thinking about our future together. The handwriting was Jennifer's, but it had been crossed out and rewritten multiple times, like she was practicing the perfect tone. Another page. I love you so much. You've changed my life. I can't imagine being with anyone else. Crossed out, rewritten, edited. She practiced her love letters, Marcus said, his voice hollow. She practiced everything, Morrison replied. We found voice recordings of her practicing conversations, rehearsing responses, getting the tone right. She played one on her phone. Jennifer's voice. Oh, Marcus, you're so thoughtful. I don't deserve you. Pause. Then again, different inflection. "Oh, Marcus, you're so thoughtful. I don't deserve you." Again, "Marcus, you're so thoughtful. I don't deserve you." Over and over, testing different deliveries, like an actress rehearsing lines. Marcus set down the journal, hands shaking. "Every conversation we had," he said slowly. "Every moment. She'd already planned what she was going to say. Yes, our first kiss. Planned. When she told me she loved me. Scripted. When I proposed. She knew it was coming. Look." Morrison showed him another photo. It was Marcus, on one knee on his penthouse terrace. Ring box open. But the angle was wrong. It wasn't from where Jennifer had been standing. "She set up a hidden camera," Morrison said. "She wanted to capture the moment. For proof, we think. Evidence that you'd proposed. In case she ever needed it." Marcus couldn't speak. Morrison's voice softened. "Mr. Chen, I've worked hundreds of cases. I've seen a lot of manipulation. But this," she gestured around the apartment, "this is one of the most calculated, methodical operations I've ever witnessed. This woman didn't just lie to you. She created an entire fictional relationship. She wrote the script, cast herself in the role, and performed it flawlessly." "Why?" Marcus finally asked. "Why go to all this trouble?" "Because men like you don't fall for obvious gold diggers," Morrison said. "You're too smart, too cautious. You've been approached by women after your money your whole life. You can spot them a mile away. So she became different. She became perfect. She became exactly what you wanted. Someone who didn't need your money. Someone independent. Someone who chose you for you." Morrison paused. "Except none of it was real. It was the most elaborate con I've ever seen." Marcus walked to the window. Outside, the city stretched endlessly. All those people. All those lives. And he'd nearly lost his because he'd been lonely enough to fall for a performance. "There's one more thing," Morrison said. Marcus didn't know if he could handle one more thing. "We found a backup plan." "What?" Morrison pulled out her phone and showed him a document. It was a will. Marcus's will. Except it wasn't the will he'd actually signed. It was a forgery, dated 2 weeks ago, leaving everything to Jennifer Foster in the event of his death. "She was going to kill you," Morrison said quietly, "after you were married, after your mother was gone, after she'd isolated you from everyone else who might question her. She was going to make it look like an accident. And then this will would have surfaced. We found the original in a shred bin in her apartment." Marcus felt the room tilt. "You weren't her endgame, Mr. Chen. You were her retirement plan. But the story doesn't end there. Because what happened at Jennifer's arraignment, what she said in court, would shock everyone in that room. And what she tried to do from her jail cell would prove she still wasn't done fighting." 6 weeks later, Marcus stood in a courtroom watching Jennifer being led in wearing an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed. She'd lost weight. Her hair, normally perfect, hung limp. No makeup, no designer clothes. For the first time since he'd known her, she looked ordinary. The judge reviewed the charges. Attempted first-degree murder, conspiracy, fraud, identity theft. How does the defendant plead? Jennifer's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client wishes to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of mental defect." Morrison, sitting next to Marcus, tensed. The prosecutor shot to his feet. "Your Honor, the defendant has shown no signs of mental illness. This is a calculated attempt to—" "Your Honor," Jennifer's lawyer interrupted, "my client has a documented history of severe trauma, childhood abuse, abandonment. She's been diagnosed with complex PTSD and borderline personality disorder. She's a victim herself. She's a predator," the prosecutor snapped. The judge held up a hand. "Counsel, approach." While the lawyers huddled with the judge, Jennifer turned in her seat. Her eyes scanned the courtroom and landed on Marcus. She smiled. Not the warm smile he remembered. Something colder, more triumphant. Then she mouthed 3 words. "You loved me." Marcus's jaw clenched. The lawyers returned to their tables. "Given the complexity of this case," the judge said, and the defendant's willingness to cooperate with ongoing investigations into related deaths, the state has agreed to a plea deal. Morrison cursed under her breath. The defendant will plead guilty to aggravated assault and fraud. In exchange for a reduced sentence of 8 years and full cooperation with investigations into the deaths of Robert Caldwell and others, the attempted murder charge will be dropped. Your Honor, the prosecutor protested. This woman is a serial predator. The deal has been accepted, Counselor. Miss Foster, do you agree to these terms? Jennifer stood. Yes, Your Honor. Then you will be remanded to the California Women's Correctional Facility to serve your sentence. This court is adjourned. The gavel struck. Marcus couldn't believe it. 8 years. For attempting to murder his mother. For killing Robert Caldwell. For destroying countless lives. 8 years. Morrison stood. I'm sorry. The DA thinks her testimony will help close other cases. It's strategic. It's bullshit. I know. As Jennifer was led out, she turned one last time, found Marcus in the crowd, and winked. That night, Marcus sat with Linda in his penthouse, watching the city lights. 8 years, Linda said quietly. 8 years. She'll be out when she's 50. Marcus didn't respond. And then what? Linda continued. She does it again? Finds another wealthy man? Kills another mother? Morrison says she'll be monitored. Parole restrictions. Mandatory therapy. That won't stop her. I know. They sat in silence. Then Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. Hello. A recorded message. You have a collect call from an inmate at California Women's Correctional Facility. Do you accept? Marcus's finger hovered over the button to decline, but something made him press accept. Static. Then Jennifer's voice. Marcus. He said nothing. Marcus, I know you're there. I can hear you breathing. Pause. I just wanted to say, I really did love you. In my own way. I know you don't believe that, but it's true. You don't know what love is, Marcus said, his voice cold. Maybe not the way you define it, but I loved what we could have been. What we could have had. Her voice softened. We would have been good together. If your mother hadn't interfered. Don't talk about my mother. She never gave me a chance, Marcus. She decided I wasn't good enough before she even knew me. She was right. Silence. 8 years, Jennifer finally said. That's what they're giving me. 8 years. And when I get out, I'll still be young enough. Still be beautiful enough. Still be smart enough. To do this again? To start over. She laughed softly. You know what the funny thing is? In here, women actually respect me. They think I'm clever, bold. They ask me for advice on their own situations. I'm like a celebrity. Marcus felt sick. I'm going to write a book, Jennifer continued. About us. About everything. My lawyer says publishers are already interested. Crime stories are big right now, especially from the female perspective. The woman who almost got away with it. You're proud of yourself. I'm practical. If I can't have your money, I'll make my own. From people who want to know how I did it. You're sick. I'm smart. There's a difference. Marcus's hand tightened around the phone. Stay away from me. Stay away from my mother. When you get out, if I ever see you again. You'll what? You can't touch me, Marcus. I'll have served my time. Paid my debt. And then I'm free. Her voice dropped to a whisper. And you'll always wonder. Every woman you meet. Every relationship you have. You'll always wonder if she's real. Or if she's me in a different package. The line went dead. Marcus sat there, phone in hand, Jennifer's words echoing. You'll always wonder. But she was wrong. Because what Marcus received 2 days later would prove that Jennifer had made one final mistake. One last miscalculation that would change everything. 3 months into Jennifer's sentence, an envelope arrived at Marcus's office. His assistant brought it in, concern creasing her face. This came from the correctional facility. Do you want me to? I'll handle it. Marcus stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Mr. Chen, my name is Rebecca Torres. I'm currently serving time at California Women's Correctional Facility, where I've had the unfortunate experience of being assigned as Jennifer Foster's cellmate. I'm writing because I believe you deserve to know what she's been saying, what she's been planning. Jennifer talks about you constantly. She's convinced that when she gets out, she can win you back. She's been writing letters to you, though I don't think the prison is sending them. She's created an entire fantasy about how you'll realize you made a mistake, that you'll understand she was just desperate, that you'll forgive her. But Mr. Chen, there's something else. Something the guards don't know. Something I think you need to hear. Jennifer has been befriending guards, female guards, asking about their families, their lives, their problems. She's been offering advice. One guard, Angela, is going through a divorce. Jennifer has been counseling her, telling her she deserves better, encouraging her to fight for what's hers. Last week, I heard Jennifer tell Angela, "Sometimes you have to remove obstacles to get what you deserve. Sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures." Mr. Chen, Angela's soon-to-be ex-husband, is wealthy, and Angela's been talking about how his mother is on his side in the divorce, how the mother is poisoning him against her. I'm writing because I'm terrified Jennifer is grooming Angela, training her, setting her up to be the next Jennifer Foster. And I'm writing because Jennifer told me something 2 nights ago. She was half asleep, talking to herself, and she said, "Marcus thinks he won, but I've got 8 years to plan, 8 years to study, 8 years to get better. And when I get out, I'll find someone just like him. And next time, there won't be any mistakes." I'm including this letter in hopes that you can get this information to the detective on your case. Jennifer Foster isn't reformed. She's not remorseful. She's planning her next victim. Please be careful, and please warn others. Respectfully, Rebecca Torres. Marcus sat back in his chair, letter trembling in his hands. He called Morrison immediately. "I need you to read something." An hour later, Morrison was in his office, reading the letter for the 3rd time. "I'll contact the prison," she said. "We'll investigate." "But Mr. Chen." She looked up. "This is valuable information. If Torres is right, if Jennifer is grooming a guard, we can use that. At charges. Extend her sentence. Will it work? If we can prove conspiracy, manipulation of a corrections officer, attempted fraud. Yes, we could add years. Maybe even have her moved to maximum security." Marcus nodded. "But there's something else," Morrison said. "The DA has been investigating those other identities we found, the other names. And we've identified 2 more suspicious deaths, both wealthy men. Both lost their mothers under questionable circumstances. Both died within a year of their mothers' deaths." Morrison's expression was grave. "We're building cases, but it's going to take time." "How much time?" "Years, potentially. But Mr. Chen, if we can prove even one more murder, Jennifer won't see freedom for decades. Maybe never." Marcus let that sink in. "What do I do now?" Morrison leaned forward. "You heal. You help your mother heal. You rebuild your ability to trust. And you use your platform to warn others." "My platform? You're a billionaire, Mr. Chen. People listen to you. Write about this. Talk about it. Help other men recognize the signs. Because Jennifer was right about one thing. There are others like her out there. And they're getting smarter." Marcus thought about that for a long time after Morrison left. Jennifer Foster had almost destroyed him, had almost killed his mother, had probably killed others. But she'd failed. And now he had a choice. He could hide from what happened, pretend it never occurred, move on quietly, or he could make sure her story, his story, saved someone else from the same fate. That evening, Marcus sat with Linda on his penthouse terrace, watching the sunset paint the sky. "I'm going to write about it," he said. Linda turned to him. "About Jennifer? About everything. The warning signs I missed. The instinct I ignored. The way she calculated every moment." He paused. "Maybe if other people hear it, they'll recognize it in their own lives. Before it's too late." Linda squeezed his hand. "That's brave. It's necessary. They sat in comfortable silence as the city lights began to flicker on. "You know what I realized?" Marcus said. "Jennifer was right about one thing." "What's that?" "I will always wonder. Every woman I meet, every relationship I start, I'll wonder if it's real or if it's performance." Linda was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Or maybe you'll just be more careful, more present, more willing to trust your instincts and the people who love you." "Maybe." "Marcus, what happened with Jennifer, it doesn't mean love isn't real. It means you encountered someone broken. Someone who twisted love into something unrecognizable. But that doesn't change what real love is." "And what's that?" "What we have," Linda said simply. "What you showed me when you ran back to that hospital room. What I showed you when I tried to warn you even though it was hard. Real love shows up. Even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's dangerous. Even when the other person doesn't want to hear it." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. "Jennifer never understood that," Linda continued. "She thought love was performance, strategy, manipulation. But love is the opposite of all that. Love is choosing someone else's well-being over your own comfort. Again and again, without keeping score. Like you did for me my whole life. Like we do for each other." They watched the sunset fade into twilight. Marcus's phone buzzed. A message from Morrison. "Prison is investigating Torres's claims. Looking good. We may be able to add 5 to 10 years to Jennifer's sentence. I'll keep you posted." Marcus showed Linda the message. She smiled. "Good. That's 5 to 10 more years she can't hurt anyone. And when she gets out? When she gets out, there will be a whole community of people you've warned. People who know the signs. People who won't fall for her act." Marcus hoped she was right. But more than that, he hoped he could turn his worst nightmare into something meaningful. Something that would protect others from the Jennifer Fosters of the world. Because if there was one thing he'd learned, it was this. Evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it smiles at you across a crowded room. Sometimes it laughs at your jokes and makes you feel seen. Sometimes it holds your hand and promises you forever. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, God gives you just enough warning, just enough instinct, to save yourself before it's too late. Marcus Chen had gotten that warning. And now, he was determined to be that warning for someone else. If the story shook you, if it made you think twice about someone in your life, if it reminded you to trust your instincts, do something for me right now. Hit that like button. Smash it. Because stories like Marcus's need to reach the people who need to hear them most. Subscribe to Echoes of Hope Stories. We tell the stories that matter. The ones that wake you up. The ones that might just save your life. And comment below. Have you ever ignored your gut feeling about someone? What happened? Your story could be the warning someone else needs to hear. Remember what Marcus's mother told him. Real love shows up. Even when it's hard. Even when it's dangerous. Even when the other person doesn't want to hear it. The people who truly love you won't perform. They won't calculate. They'll just be there. Consistently. Imperfectly. Honestly. And if someone in your life feels too perfect, too scripted, too good to be true, trust that feeling. Because sometimes God whispers warnings we need to hear. Marcus heard his just in time. Make sure you're listening to yours. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, stay sharp, stay safe, and never ignore that voice inside you that says something's wrong. Like and subscribe. Your life might depend on it.